Tonight, what's the plan?
55 specific, realistic, and achievable policy commitments.
The Conservatives say they would get Canada closest to the Paris climate targets, but are the words backed up by numbers?
The world has more displaced people than ever before, and one country now resettles more than any other, Canada.
There's no words to describe my relief.
And from self-help cult leader to convicted sex trafficker, the sensational NXIVM saga comes to an end in a New York courtroom. This is The National.
MPs are about to leave Ottawa for the summer, but once it's over, the federal election will be right around the corner. And one thing we know voters want the parties to explain is how they will deal with climate change. Today, Andrew Scheer laid out the Conservative plan. Salima Shivji looks at its details and the questions it leaves unanswered.
A long-awaited speech made strategically in battleground Quebec and fronted with a shot at his political rivals.
The carbon tax isn't simply another Liberal tax grab.
Andrew Scheer is promising to scrap the Liberal carbon tax while still cutting emissions. But his focus is big polluters.
Emitters who exceed our limits will be required to invest in technology that will lower emissions to fight climate change. Technology, not taxes.
A stricter limit, 40 kilotons of greenhouse gas emissions a year, than the one set by the Liberals. After that, companies would be forced to invest in green technology, which could include their own programs, though how much they would pay isn't clear. Another idea, a push for more international cooperation.
It starts with exporting our environmental excellence.
A promise to somehow help other countries like China leave coal behind and instead use cleaner Canadian technology. How they would be convinced to do that is not spelled out, nor is how any of these measures would reduce Canadian emissions, a detail not lost on reporters.
What are the tangible numbers for reducing greenhouse gas emissions?
So have you done that math? Do you have those numbers internally, yes or no?
So we have done a lot of analysis, and we've consulted with a lot of stakeholders and experts.
Some listening to the plan were disappointed.
So it doesn't tell us anything about how Canada is going to reduce its emissions. It has no projections for how we're going to actually meet the Paris targets.
The Environment Minister was also in full campaign mode, clearly not impressed with Scheer's ideas.
He says we can save the planet, but we don't have to make any changes. Invent some technologies and sell them to other countries.
What do we want? Climate justice.
Competing plans that each will test out with voters this fall as the parties try to convince Canadians their plan is the most logical route to get to the Paris targets. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Ottawa.
Okay, so climate change promising to be a big issue for Canadians going into the federal election. Let's talk about what today's announcement means with CBC Poll Analyst Eric Grenier. Okay, this was highly anticipated, and of course Andrew Scheer has said he's against taxes. So why is he positioning himself this way, Eric?
Well, our own polling, the CBC News poll we released this week, shows that a lot of people are very concerned about climate change. Upwards of almost 2/3 say it's a top priority. So he did need to have a credible plan that he could present to Canadians ahead of the election. But at the same time, the poll showed that there's not a lot of Canadians who are prepared to make serious sacrifices in order to fight climate change, and particularly when it comes to new taxes or new costs. So for this plan to be as long as it is, but not have any new taxes for Canadians, no direct upfront costs, I think it aligns with what a lot of the people that Andrew Scheer wants to reach, that's what they're looking for.
Okay, and these people that he's trying to reach, obviously he's presenting a really different vision than everybody else. So who is he trying to talk to here?
It looks like he's really trying to reach conservative voters or people that the Conservatives think that they can reach, because Liberals, New Democrats, and Greens, people who say they're going to vote for those parties, they are very, very concerned about climate change and they want to see serious action. Those who vote for the Conservatives or say they're going to are less likely to say it's a top priority and are especially more likely to say they don't want to pay anything for it. So a plan like this is going to speak to those people who are open to voting for the Conservatives. For Liberals, New Democrats, and Greens, there's more people who would vote for those parties based on their climate change plans. But for Andrew Scheer, he's all by himself on one side of the spectrum.
Okay, does that expand his voting base in any way? It doesn't sound like it would necessarily.
Now, it doesn't sound like it's trying to reach those other voters, but to concentrate on the people who have voted for the Conservatives in the past and maybe are disappointed with the Liberals, want to see something on the environment, but not too much.
Okay. Eric Grenier, thanks for this. You're in Ottawa tonight. Liberals are making their own sales pitch today. They want to convince doubters in the oil patch that this time the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion will proceed now that they've approved it a second time. Carolyn Dunn shows us how the message is being received.
Build that pipe! Build that pipe! Build that pipe!
In Alberta, skepticism abounds.
Just because you approve something doesn't mean it's going to get done.
So Ottawa sent some big guns west. Natural Resources Minister Amarjeet Sohi to Edmonton and Finance Minister Bill Morneau to Calgary to reassure.
We will persist in this, absolutely. What's happening today is we're back at work. The re-permitting is happening starting today. We're going to get work going this construction season.
Opposition Conservatives ramped up the skepticism.
The Prime Minister's great at saying yes, he just can't get it done. Yesterday was another approval without a plan.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives just won't take yes for an answer.
There are still plenty of no's to the pipeline expansion. Some Indigenous and environmental groups vow to stop it for good.
How do you think this is going to play out?
But this legal expert says the government has met the obligations set by the court that halted the project.
We gave you a set of instructions. You followed those instructions from what we see on the record, and therefore we won't even grant leave.
Okay.
And that will be the end of it.
Still, the Fed's approval comes with a sweetener for pipeline opponents. About $500 million generated by the pipeline each year will be reinvested in green energy projects. And there's a good chance Indigenous communities will buy a stake in the pipeline and benefit from it financially. It's unclear whether that will be enough to blunt opposition, but the federal government insists none of it is going to stop the Trans Mountain Pipeline extension this time. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
It wasn't just pipelines and climate change in Ottawa today, though. There was also strong reaction to our report about Conservative MP Michael Cooper. Last night, we told you that several people who attended law school with him say they heard Cooper make derogatory comments about Muslims, claims that Cooper denies. But it comes a month after he was disciplined for comments made at a parliamentary committee. David Cochran has the latest.
As Parliament gets ready to close, Conservatives close ranks around Michael Cooper.
I have never heard him say anything that would resemble those types of comments.
There's no change in Michael Cooper's a member of our caucus.
Some defended their colleague, others attacked the messenger.
I think that CBC would never run a story like this if it were a Liberal.
That was a scurrilous report, unsubstantiated.
The claims come from some of Cooper's former law school classmates who say he used inflammatory language during a class.
He declared Canada to be a Judeo-Christian civilization that had no place for, and I quote, goat herder cultures.
I did not say that. I know I didn't say it. It's not something that I would say.
Prime Minister, what should Andrew Scheer do about Michael Cooper? Should he kick Michael Cooper out of this caucus?
I think what Mr. Cooper said at committee, what he is alleged to have said in media reports, illustrates that there's an awful lot of room for intolerance in Andrew Scheer's party. I think he needs to address that.
I've taken Michael Cooper at his word, and I believe him.
Scheer says Cooper isn't going anywhere, even though multiple sources corroborated the allegations on the record. Then he escalated the attack on CBC News.
It's disappointing that your news organization has decided to give a voice to these allegations without that substantiation when there have been very, very serious allegations made against Justin Trudeau that have not been pursued.
He's referring to a story from last year that before entering politics, Trudeau allegedly groped a young female reporter, something first published in a BC newspaper nearly 20 years ago. CBC News wasn't the first to report the story, but covered it once the allegations went public.
I do not feel that I acted inappropriately in any way, but I respect the fact that someone else might have experienced that differently.
So you'll pardon me if I think that Justin Trudeau on this issue is just a complete hypocrite.
Michael Cooper is in caucus tonight, but he wasn't in Parliament today. In addition to denying the allegations against him, Cooper is threatening legal action to clear his name. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Just a final note on Canadian politics today. The Prime Minister is now in Washington and will meet tomorrow with President Trump. Trudeau was greeted by Canadian and American ambassadors. David McNaughton and Kelly Craft, her grandkids, were all decked out in Toronto Raptors gear. Trudeau and Trump, though, will focus on China and trade, especially the new NAFTA deal. Today, in fact, Mexico became the first of the 3 countries to ratify it. So, good thing tomorrow is at issue night. We're good that way. There's lots to get to. But right now, Andrew, today saw the end of really a sensational courtroom drama.
Yeah, it happened in Brooklyn, New York, where a number of guilty verdicts put the wrap on one man's long reign of terror. Keith Raniere was accused of sexual offenses, extortion, even forcing women to have abortions, an extensive pattern of degradation and humiliation. It all took place within a group he founded called NXIVM. Stephen D'Souza takes us through a horrific case of abuse.
His charms ensnared Hollywood actresses and a billionaire heiress. Today, it took a Brooklyn jury less than 5 hours to find Keith Raniere guilty on a host of charges, from sex trafficking to racketeering. The verdict comes after a decade-long ordeal for some women.
There's no words to describe my relief and the feeling of safety and freedom for myself and many others that have endured his abuse and stalking and terrorizing.
Raniere founded a self-help organization called NXIVM. Prosecutors called it a cult. The jury heard about a woman confined for almost 2 years as punishment for liking another man, and how Raniere had sex with an underage girl.
There were many tears in the courtroom. It was very difficult. Even at some points, the judge even intervened and stopped the defense lawyer from his cross-examination because he felt like it was pushing some of those witnesses over the edge.
Josh Block examined its inner workings for the CBC podcast, Uncover, Escaping NXIVM.
There's a lot of embarrassment, a lot of regret.
It told the story of Canadian actress Sarah Edmondson, one of many to get out. The court heard about a secret society within NXIVM called DOS. There, women were enslaved, even physically branded with Raniere's initials.
Women inside the group felt that if they did not comply with orders to have sex with Keith Raniere, that they would face devastating consequences. They would have nude photos and explicit videos released.
Among those who have pleaded guilty to helping Raniere, TV actress Alison Mack and Seagram's heiress Claire Bronfman. This former TV star's daughter was once part of NXIVM.
She, like all the other young women who have suffered at the hands of this monster, Keith Raniere, no one's unscathed, but she's not broken.
Raniere is facing up to life in prison and will be sentenced in September, but the ordeal may not be over. Raniere's defense plans to appeal. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
And now to some of the other stories we're following tonight on The National, including what a UN investigator is calling a premeditated execution.
What needs to be investigated is the extent to which the Crown Prince knew or should have known of what would have happened to Mr. Khashoggi.
A months-long UN investigation says there is credible evidence that Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince was directly responsible for the killing of dissident journalist Jamal Khashoggi. He was killed inside the Saudi consulate in Turkey back in October. 11 Saudis are on trial, but that trial is happening behind closed doors. And something we're watching in Ontario tomorrow. Premier Doug Ford is set to shuffle his cabinet. One key position to keep an eye on is that of finance minister. 2 sources have told CBC News the premier is being urged to move Vic Fideli out of the role, and as many as 10 ministers may be on the move. A swearing-in ceremony is scheduled for 10:30 in the morning at Queen's Park.
A U.S. House subcommittee heard from pilots and flight attendants today in the wake of 2 deadly crashes involving Boeing 737 MAX jets. Among them, a pilot with an international reputation and personal experience with avoiding disaster. Alison Northcott has more.
This is what put Chesley Sullenberger's piloting skills to the test, now known as the Miracle on the Hudson.
Can we get serious now?
The dramatic event even became the subject of a Hollywood movie. Today, as he brought his 5 decades of experience into the committee room, Sullenberger, or Sully as he's known, spoke out.
These crashes are demonstrable evidence that our current system of aircraft design and certification has failed us. These accidents should never have happened.
Authorities have not yet determined the official cause of those crashes, but flight control software called MCAS may have forced the plane's noses down. The MAX 8s have been grounded since March, while Boeing worked on a fix. On the weekend, the company apologized again for the lives lost.
These accidents have only intensified our efforts to ensure the highest level of safety and quality in everything we do. We're committed to learning from this.
Still, as the planes get closer to taking off, questions about safety linger.
At APA, we remain concerned about whether the new training protocol, materials, and methods of instruction suggested by Boeing are adequate.
Flight attendants must be assured that operators, pilots, regulators, and independent assessment is confident in the safe return to flight.
Sullenberger says pilots should get new training on the fixed planes in a simulator to know how to respond to specific warnings and emergencies.
I recently experienced all these warnings in a 737 MAX flight simulator during recreations of the accident flights. Even knowing what was going to happen, I could see how crews could have run out of time before they could have solved the problems.
Air Canada says its pilots are using 737 MAX simulators while the planes are still grounded. Boeing says it's working with regulators and airlines to determine training requirements while taking steps to re-earn people's trust. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Washington.
Now to a big development in a story that has haunted people for nearly 5 years. That is how long it's been since a passenger jet was shot down in eastern Ukraine. Nearly 300 were killed. But until today, no official accusations. Now there are murder charges. And as Chris Brown tells us, there's also new evidence linking the Kremlin to the deadly missile.
The people responsible for this atrocity may still never appear in court. Nonetheless, today, Dutch prosecutors took the first steps to hold 4 suspects accountable. The men fighting for pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine are accused of receiving a Buk anti-aircraft missile and launcher from Russia in July 2014 and putting it into a position where it could take out the Malaysian Airlines jet.
Together, they formed a chain linking the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic with the Russian Federation.
Investigators have revealed compelling evidence of Russian complicity many times before, and Igor Girkin's role offers up yet another example. A senior separatist military commander, he's heard on a wiretap phone call practically begging for Russian anti-aircraft weapons. Then on another call, a Russian commander tells him they're on the way. There's also an intercepted social media chat between a Russian soldier with the 53rd Brigade that owned the Buk and his girlfriend. He tells her some soldiers have gone on a secret mission. To Ukraine, she guesses. You're not only beautiful, but you're smart too, he tells her. As persuasive as all that is, the Kremlin continues to deny any Russian role, and there's also zero public outcry here over the constant stream of damning revelations. The Ukrainians have the same Buk missiles made at the same factory, this man told us. Russia is accused of many things, and it's exaggerated a lot. I don't believe the evidence from the other side.
Notably, there was no mention today about any charges against any Russian soldiers or officers who were with the Buk missile. Instead, investigators may be hoping that some might still come forward, that even after all of these years, the Russian cone of silence might crack. Chris Brown, CBC News, Moscow.
Ahead tonight, never before have more people been displaced from their home countries, so where are they going?
Plus, Canada's man in space packs his bag to come home.
But first,
Sunshine on the street at the parade, but you would rather be in the dark age, just making that sign. Must have taken all night.
Taylor Swift's new music video is filled with LGBTQ celebrities, but is it about pride or profits? That's next.
You are somebody that we don't know, but you're coming at my friends like a missile. Are you mad when you could be glad?
Just in time for Pride Month, Taylor Swift released this colorful new music video calling out homophobes and celebrating the LGBTQ community. She got a little help from her friends, too. You Need to Calm Down features dozens of famous faces, including those guys from Queer Eye, Ellen, and RuPaul. So why is Swift facing some backlash? She's hardly the first to look to Pride for some profit. As Eli Glasner explains, it has some wondering if the original intent of Pride is being lost.
Taylor Swift is no stranger to the gay community. Recently, she lent her support with a surprise performance at the site of the historic Stonewall riots. But her latest music video, a rainbow-colored extravaganza, is off-key for some in that community.
I mean, the video is ridiculous.
Rachel Giza says the new video puts the focus in the wrong place.
Ultimately, the video is using a lot of queer and trans artists as a backdrop to her talking about, you know, her hashtag white girl problems, and really about her, you know, making up with Katy Perry.
Swift's pride-positive pop song is part of a larger trend of what some call rainbow washing. At Pride events across Canada, those rainbow colors mix easily with corporate logos. But this trans activist says corporate involvement means organizers are playing it safe.
Those big dollars come with strings attached. There's only so much radical stuff that you can do while still receiving the money from big corporations.
Giza says being a true ally means doing more than raising a flag once a year.
What kinds of investments do they do? And if they do, you know, any kind of business or investment in countries that are transphobic or homophobic, do they use their considerable power to speak out against homophobic or transphobic regimes?
Each and every one of our partners is really important for us. It helps us increase our capacity as an organization.
But some Pride organizers say their events would suffer without corporate sponsors.
For the Queen City Pride Festival, our sponsorship and partnerships are really important to us because it helps us in a capacity sense, since we are a volunteer board, be able to host the events that we do and also reach out to all the different parts of our community.
But as important as that increased corporate support is, the LGBTQ community continues to face serious obstacles. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
And ahead on The National, a deeper look at Russia's push to control the Arctic.
First, the planet is on the move in ways we've never seen before. The number of refugees hits a new record.
It's not just in these more remote areas right up along the border with Syria where the refugees are feeling under pressure to leave.
Margaret Evans takes us to Lebanon. More than 1 million Syrians have fled to that country, and they're finding their welcome may be running out. People around the world are moving like never before, and not because they want to. The proof and the staggering scale of that movement comes from the UN's Refugee Agency. For some perspective, in 2000, the worrying number was 21 million people. Now it's nearly 71 million, all people displaced by war, persecution, or lack of human rights at home. So where are they going? More than half don't go far at all. They are internally displaced, as in Ethiopia. 1.5 million people in 2018 moved inside its own borders. As for those who leave their countries, of the millions who left Syria in the past 5 years, most are now in Turkey or Lebanon. Myanmar's persecuted Rohingya are still moving into Bangladesh. South Sudan's crises have pushed people in 3 directions, into Sudan, Ethiopia, or Uganda. And then there's Venezuela. The UN estimates more than 3 million people have fled that country. We've seen how they pour into neighboring Colombia. So no, it is neither Europe nor North America bearing the brunt of this movement.
You know, when you say Europe has a refugee emergency, or the United States or Australia, no. Most of the refugees are, in fact, in the countries next to where the war is. And unfortunately, that means mostly in poor countries or in middle-income countries.
To that point, the number of Syrians crossing the border into Lebanon during the past 8 years, at least 1 million, with some estimates closer to 1.5 million. And as the CBC's Margaret Evans tells us, the warm, neighborly welcome is wearing off.
Along the mountains marking Lebanon's border with Syria, you'll find a valley of the weary. Syrian refugees who sought shelter here from the early days of the war that raged on the other side. Faten El-Hosni has hung her family's walls with canaries, a little ray of light in the dark. But today she's packing everything up. The Lebanese army has delivered an ultimatum. Take down the walls yourself or we'll do it for you. She says they said everything should be demolished by the end of the month. El-Hosni's family fled Syria, she says, when their house in Homs was destroyed by an airstrike. The prospect of losing another is clearly overwhelming. Authorities say the dwellings violate building codes, that concrete walls more than a meter high are forbidden. Those living here believe there is an ulterior motive. But Khaled al-Rifai says a return to Syria is not an option. If the situation was good and safe in Syria, he says, you wouldn't find any Syrians here in Lebanon. It's not just in these more remote areas right up along the border with Syria where the refugees are feeling under pressure to leave. Right across Lebanon, there's a sense of an erosion of hospitality. In crowded Beirut, the whispers grow louder. Refugees accused of stealing Lebanese jobs, of driving rents up and wages down. There are nearly 1 million Syrian refugees registered in the country, but politicians say the number is higher, that Lebanon is suffocating.
Our economy is under pressure because of them, because we've been giving them power, electricity, water. All our infrastructure has been affected by their presence here.
Those charged with the protection of refugees say Lebanon deserves praise for what it has been able to offer, saying a change in tone doesn't signify a change in policy.
We are certainly also reiterating to refugees, the government has given us assurances that there will be no forced return.
But back in the Valley of the Weary, where the passage of time is speeding up, it doesn't mean they don't feel the squeeze. Mahmoud Rameh lost 2 sons to the war in Syria. Now he and his family, including a son with a broken back, sleep here, waiting to make a home again. What if it gets worse? If you have the power to take us to Canada and save us from what we're living here, he says, that would be great, because the situation is unacceptable. No going back and no going forward. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Arsal, Lebanon.
So where are the world's most desperate people going, and which nations have opened their doors to them? Until 2017, the U.S. resettled more refugees than the rest of the world combined. But that changed in a big way under the Trump administration. Last year, Canada resettled 28,000, more than any other country, including the U.S. And it's families who make up the vast majority of Syrian refugees coming to Canada. Parents eager to escape conflict and carve out new lives for their kids. This week brings a hard-won personal victory for a special group of them, a high school graduation. Terry Reith met some of the grads.
Marwa Nekla is about to open a new chapter in her life, finishing high school after a long and difficult journey. When she was just 11, her family fled the fighting in Syria's civil war.
You always hear like the guns and like bombs, and people dying.
The whole cycle through. Yes.
Her family was among the group of 25,000 refugees that arrived in late 2015. Marwa spoke no English.
Like it was hard to leave your home, leave your childhood, leave your friend, and be in another country.
Amar, Juma, and his family also came in that wave.
If you saw me the first day I came to school, you will say, this guy will never get out of here or get his diploma.
They were among 33 Syrian students who enrolled at Edmonton's Queen Elizabeth High School in 2016.
This is the first graduating class
from that group that arrived all together.
Dealing with so many traumatized students who spoke little to no English was a challenge.
That's how we approached it. We didn't talk about the bombs, we didn't talk about the gunshots. We just provided safety and relationship, humor.
Marwa wants to be a psychologist to work with refugees. Amar, now 19, wants to sail the seas, just like his grandfather.
This is my dream, to become a captain for a big ship, really, really big ship.
But for now, he's captain of his first car. A dream come true for a teen who fled war and came with nothing. Terry Reith, CBC News, Edmonton.
Next on The National, Chris Brown takes us inside Russia's push to lay claim to the Arctic.
As the polar ice melts, northern nations are rushing to exert their control. And with its new fleet of modern icebreakers, Russia is way out in front.
Welcome back. Health officials are confirming at least 95 people have died as an intense heat wave takes hold in India. And that number could get higher. Hundreds were brought to hospital suffering heat stroke, and that caused its own problems, overcrowding and unhygienic conditions. Making things worse, there are also water shortages following a drier than usual monsoon season. Canada and Russia both lay claim to Arctic territory, but Russia puts a lot more money where its mouth is. Bigger cities and a bigger push for resources. Concern for the environment drove Canada and the U.S. to ban Arctic drilling until 2021. But as Chris Brown tells us in his dispatch, Russia plows past the concerns that hold other countries back.
The recent launch of the world's most powerful icebreaker was a proud moment for many Russians.
Это очень большой, грандиозный праздник для России, потому что Россия всегда была главной морской державой, и для нас, в том числе, корабли для Севера имеют огромное значение.
As the polar ice melts, northern nations are rushing to exert their control. And with its new fleet of modern icebreakers, Russia is way out in front.
This is a Ural. It's able to crunch through almost 3 meters of ice, and its nuclear-powered engines give it almost unlimited endurance. Russia has 2 other ships just like this one already, and 6 even larger icebreakers on the way.
Конечно, важно, потому что сейчас все знают, да, что в Арктике очень большие запасы нефти, газа, и стратегически важно иметь такие суда для того, чтобы организовывать и добычу, и вот проводку больших судов.
There's no discussion here about a climate emergency. The talk is only about opportunity. Canada needs icebreakers to compete, taunted the Russian shipyard official. Our shipyard can build them for you, goads another. Russia's economy is almost entirely dependent on oil and gas, and with an estimated 22% of the world's undiscovered reserves in the Arctic, Russia is pushing to unlock all it can. At this year's Arctic Forum, President Vladimir Putin said the icebreaker fleet is key to getting resources to market year-round through the Northern Sea Passage over the top of Russia.
Наша цель существенно нарастить здесь объем грузоперевозок. Только по Севморпути до 80 миллионов тонн уже к 2025 году.
Seeing the gigantic new industrial projects really drives home the scale of Russia's ambitions for the Arctic. This is the centerpiece, Yamal LNG. It's an enormous liquefied natural gas plant built on Siberia's frozen tundra at 70 degrees north. A few months back, our crew got a quick tour of the year-old facility. It has its own airport, seaport, and it's large enough to accommodate 30,000 fly-in workers. We also saw the Christophe de Marguerite. It's a new ice-capable tanker based here year-round thanks to the thinning Arctic ice. Thousands of kilometers to the west, Murmansk, already the world's largest Arctic community with a population of over 300,000, is also expanding. This vast site will be a new port with a rail link to the south. But all of these potentially lucrative Arctic opportunities also come with great challenges and great risks. Environmental journalist Anna Kiriva grew up here.
I love Murmansk.
And she worries about how these projects will affect the delicate northern ecosystem.
I've seen how bad we can do. I haven't seen how we can improve it.
Kiriva took us to the town of Nickel. It's the site of a metal smelter that's been belching away for 70 years. The slow-growing Arctic trees nearby are blackened and poisoned by sulfur dioxide emissions. The lifeless landscape may take decades to recover, if it ever does.
The nature heals itself very slowly, and only if you decrease the amount of production. The emissions were so huge that it will take quite some time to rehabilitate the territory.
There's concern as well about the impact of all that new Arctic shipping. Some here even tout the Northern Sea as a possible rival for the Suez Canal, as it cuts down the trip from Europe to Asia by 10 days. But barely anyone lives along the route, and there are very few search and rescue stations in the Arctic in case of trouble.
What if there would be a disaster and some ship would sink, and it would be somewhere in the, I don't know, Siberian waters? Where will you bring the people?
Along with the industrial buildup, there's been a military one too. Strategically, the attraction of Russia to the Arctic is evident. Japan lies to the east and NATO to the west, but up here, Russia is unchallenged. Russia has been refitting Soviet-era military bases to demonstrate its willingness to enforce its Arctic claims. Whether that's evidence of aggressive intentions or legitimate defensive posturing, Russia has been very open about what it's up to in the Arctic. Nor has the Kremlin shied away from inviting international experts to scrutinize the projects. British ecologist Terry Vincent Callahan was on the same tour of Yamal and the nearby city of Salakard, and he came away conflicted.
On one hand, we saw an exceptional development in the Arctic, which is not easy to accomplish. It's a huge development, and that development does some good, but at the same time, I'm an ecologist, an environmentalist, so I worry about losing tundra for yet another big oil and gas development.
He says industrial activity in the Arctic, especially emissions and particles from stacks, can dramatically increase the rate of global warming.
That finds its way onto the Greenland ice sheet, onto the pure ice and snow of the high Arctic islands, so the snow starts melting faster.
Over the generations, Russia's northern indigenous people have been hurt more than most from Arctic development. In Soviet times, many were forcibly removed from their communities to make room for military bases. Today, most have their livelihoods tied to reindeer or caribou herding.
Да, прадедушка, дедушка и мой отец все уже оленеводы были.
19-year-old Maxime Okoto told us they're learning to live with the disruption to migration routes and all of the new industry. But when we went to the home of the Sami people, about 200 kilometers from Murmansk, we heard a different story.
Вы сейчас так сказали, это такое грандиозное, что ощущение такое, знаете, что мы совсем песчинка в этом мире, и что на самом деле никому не будет интересно, что будет с нами происходить.
Valentina Sovkina is an activist here. The Sami number only around 1,700 people in Russia, but their communities have been here for thousands of years.
коренные народы, хранители Арктики. Они ее сохранили в той первозданной, как говорится, чистоте и красоте.
She told us their experience dealing with big corporations has not been good.
Мы обращались в Норильский никель, и мы хотели вот именно вот эти провести согласования с представителями промышленности о том, чтобы выделять определенный процент от деятельности для того, чтобы мы могли помогать сохранять самскую идентичность, так называемую. С нами просто фактически не стали разговаривать.
Were this Arctic landscape in Canada, there'd be perhaps years of assessments and then years of debate. But in Russia, the Putin government, faced with a sluggish economy and crippling foreign sanctions, has said everything. Shipping, LNG, resource development is now all full speed ahead.
I think, unfortunately, the world will need oil and gas for decades. So all the countries who have oil and gas, they will develop it, even in the Arctic. And they will go further and further to the Arctic to continue developing it.
There's still much that could go wrong with Russia's big Arctic bet. Energy prices could crash. Maybe alternative fuels will gain traction. But if not, Russia and its new fleet of icebreakers are in a commanding position to call the shots in the Arctic. Chris Brown, CBC News, in Murmansk.
And it's not just people being affected by the rapid changes in the Russian Arctic. Nature, too, bearing the brunt, including the species perhaps most emblematic of climate change. Russian wildlife experts say this underweight female polar bear strayed hundreds of kilometers from its Arctic habitat, stumbling into the industrial city of Norilsk, visibly weak and filthy. Like their North American cousins, Russian polar bears are severely handicapped by climate change. It's harder to hunt seal when the sea ice you stand on is shrinking. This bear scavenged the city dump and wandered around, appearing disoriented before laying on the ground for several hours. But it's not the only picture of climate change that has people talking this week. Maybe you've seen this incredible image of dog sled teams seemingly walking on water, but that's no photographer's trick. Researchers crossed a partially melted fjord in northwestern Greenland during abnormally warm Arctic temperatures last week. The water ankle deep over the dwindling sheet of ice. This photo has now been seen millions of times, a testament to the growing alarm about a rapidly warming north. "199 days. That's how long David Saint-Jacques has been on board the International Space Station. But on Monday, he'll be returning home to solid ground. Today was his final opportunity to speak with journalists from all the way up there. And so his parting thoughts before returning, it's our moment.
What I'm doing for the last few days is really trying to soak it all in, if you want, because I know that comes the day I go back to Earth, I will have to pinch myself. I think it will all feel like a dream. I will be maybe wondering if it all really happened. So I'm trying to burn it into my memory as much as I can. On the one hand, I've learned to fly. So I've learned to make flips and I can be upside down. It doesn't bother me anymore. That's because I basically lost all sense of gravity. I've lost all sense of balance. When I come back to Earth, I'm going to need to learn to walk again. Looking forward perhaps to jumping in the pool because there in the water you can float and it's quite comfortable. Maybe it will remind me of being in my days here in space.
So I have to say that went by actually quite quickly, at least from me, watching from Earth. And the first thing he says he's going to do, rightly so, is call his wife Veronique to say, "I'm back."
And someone asked him what he missed back here on Earth, and he said that he misses the wind. And then he saw a picture of a campfire, misses that too. I don't know if he misses the movement of it or the smell of it, but...
Right. Yeah, well, and it works both ways, too. I mean, once he's back here on Earth, I'm sure there are many things from space that he's going to miss. And he was just commenting in that very same event that, you know, he can look out the window and see Egypt, which is not a view that you can get from down here. So it'll be a fun trip for him back to Earth. That's National for this June 19th. Have a good night.
Good night.